Minato Namikaze was flying. Now if I were to be truly honest, he was not flying per se, it was more like falling, slowly. Damn Fox, he almost got me with that one. And now we come to the reason, for the Yondaime Hokage's current falling/flying predicament. The Kyuubi no Kitsune, the massive fox demon lord, strongest of the Bijou, the tailed beasts. The Kyuubi had been steadily advancing on Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves, for about 2 weeks now, and this was the 4th time that the Yondaime had decided to confront it. It wouldn't be the last, not if he had anything to say about it. Alright, let me just spread out my awareness. There. That's where I slapped that seal. Well, it looks like I will live to see another day, but it will probably be just one more. And with the yellow flash, the same that earned him his nickname, he was gone. Jiraiya the Toad Sage was a great and feared ninja, one of the legendary 3, the Sannin, but even he and his giant ego knew his apprentice left him in the dust years ago. And now watching that very same apprentice, the Yondaime, battle the Kyuubi and watching the monster shrug off a double Adama Rasengan, the 4th's most powerful move, was nothing short of terrifying. How can it be so damn strong? Suddenly he saw a yellow flash and then felt a weight on his head, propelling him face first off the branch he had been standing on. Minato. I'm going to get you for that. If I ever find where you hid that Hiraishin seal on me, you are so dead. Come on Jiraiya-sensei, let's be honest now, you were the closest Hiraishin seal, and I had to get out of there fast. The only response from the irate Sannin was the large ball of chakra that slammed into the tree below him, knocking it over and taking the Yondaime along for the ride. Looks like we're going to do this again. Hiraishin no Jutsu. Again the flash of light, again the disappearing and reappearing. But this time, a tree was involved in the equation. After a chuckling, Jiraiya dug himself out of the ground with a mild Doden Jutsu, something his student was awful at. He went over to Minato, and got serious. Well, as serious as you can get talking to someone whose only part above ground was his head. It might be interesting to note that they were having this, rather childish, debate while no more than 500 yards from the strongest demon in existence, who was supposedly asleep. If one had been paying attention, and had prior knowledge of the almost godlike hearing of the King Bijou, they would have not been surprised to hear a light snickering from the Kitsune. Foxes after all, delight in trickery and mischief. Minato, there is no hope for defeating the Kyuubi, he is simply too strong. We must abandon Konoha and try to come back later. It's the only way. No Jiraiya-sensei, there is another hope. If I use the Shiki Fuujin, I can seal the fox away for good. Minato, it's too dangerous. Find another way. No sensei, there is no other way. I have successfully gauged the Kyuubi's power. Using only 4 of his tails, he is more than a match for any shinobi in existence including me, and he is 9. But you're the Hokage. They need you. I have already talked to Sarutobi-sama. I told him that I would use that technique. I then told him how to do it, in case the Kyuubi should ever break free. But to prevent that, I also taught him 2 other seals, that will provide an added layer of defense. He even said he would become Hokage again if the seal is successful. Now I need to find if some child can be used as the container. I will ask for volunteers from the villagers. I hate doing this, especially to a helpless child, but it is the only way. He sighed. Let's get back to Sarutobi-sama. I need to check in on him, seeing as the Kyuubi's asleep and we learned weeks ago the folly of waking it up. Minato then looked thoughtful. He was working on a pill of some sort. With that, Minato utilized his Flying Thunder God technique and escaped the hole, grabbed his sensei, and with the yellow flash disappeared, heading towards the village. Minato and Jiraiya appeared in the Hokage's office, Minato's office. He immediately saw Sarutobi with his nose buried in a book and muttering to himself, I need this to work. If I don't, I'll never have enough chakra. What was that? Oji-san, the Sandaime Hokage, retired, looked up and almost had a heart attack. Damn it, Minato. What did I tell you about Hiraishin? God, if I find where you hid your seal in this office, I will kill you. Funny, Uro-sensei said the same thing. Damn it, Minato. Don't call me that. Sheesh, just like master like student. Minato thought, then, composing himself. He was about to ask about Kyuubi when his predecessor interrupted. The Kyuubi is about 2 days' travel from here and is currently sleeping. It appears to know that we are far too weak to kill it, so it's taking its time. The mother F. The rest of what the Sandaime was about to say was cut off as a dog-masked Anbu burst in. Yondaime-sama. It's your wife, she went into labor 4 hours ago, it's not looking goo. He didn't even have time to finish his words as Minato hurried into his manor, where he knew his wife Kushina would be giving birth. The Anbu, suddenly realizing he was intruding, gave a bow and sunshine, body flicker, back to where he had come from. Jiraiya gave a flat look towards his old sensei and merely stated, I know what you're working on and, while it will probably work, why would you want it to? The effects will come at the cost of your life, sensei. If we run we can save the lives of hundreds who will otherwise be wasted to buy time for years in Minato's plan to work. And besides, even if it works, and by some miracle you don't die, the Kyuubi is simply too strong for you to fight, even if you were in your prime. Jiraiya, for those shinobi, they know they will be laying down their lives for the village and the people they love. Minato and I, we would gladly trade all those lives for our own, but we can't. In order to stop a creature that delights in senseless death and mayhem, I would gladly die 1,000 times, and so would most shinobi and kunoichi in this village, if only we could take that monster with us. And why? Because that monster threatens not only the people of our village, it threatens our way of life, it threatens our homes, and most of all it threatens our ability to raise the next generation with the will of fire. It is because we have this, the will of fire. This is what makes us strong. Enough of ranting, my old friend, we should go check on Minato and Kushina. That Kakashi didn't make it sound good. Yeah, I hope Naruto's okay. It did not go unnoticed by the white-haired Sannin that his teacher hadn't answered Jiraiya directly. Naruto? Ah yes, he's to be your godson, is he not? Yes, let's go. I hope that Fox keeps sleeping for a while yet. With a swirl of leaves they were gone. The cool breeze suddenly without compatriot in the barren office of the Hokage. Kushina. Are you alright? Kushina? Minato was looking around frantically at the Namikaze family estate, looking for the room where Tsunade was supposed to be looking after his wife. Oh, I remember, she was in here. Minato finished in a whisper, trying to come to grasp with what his eyes were seeing. What should have been a happy occasion with the world's #1 medic nin commenting on how cute her godchild looked, while his beautiful wife slept and recuperated, instead looked like something out of a nightmare. His wife's eyes were closed, not in the gentle grasp of dreams, but in the rigid rigor mortis of something gone horrifyingly wrong. Where Tsunade of the Sannin should have been was instead a 15-year-old girl with short black hair holding his son as they both cried their eyes out. And the blood, well, Minato tried his damnedest to not notice the blood. Shizune, yes, that was the girl's name, wasn't it? Shizune? What happened? Where's Tsunade-sama? Minato's voice almost pleaded for her to wake him up, to end this terrible nightmare that was threatening to take everything he known away from him. The girl jumped, obviously so wrapped up in her grief she hadn't noticed him enter. She immediately jumped into a fresh gale of weeping and crying. Hokage-sama. Oh God, I'm so sorry. Sob, I couldn't do anything. It was going so well, and so Tsunade-sama said she needed to go back to the front, but that everything, sob, was gonna be just fine. And it was, and Naruto looked so cute, and everything was fine, and then she just, oh God, sob, she just started bleeding and I couldn't stop it. And I just started yelling for help, and then Inu-san came in and he left, and now you're here and she, oh God. Shizune broke down weeping yet again, this time with the added bonus of Naruto joining in, obviously hungry. Shizune, please give me my son. The Ondaime's voice was frightening. Not because of extreme pain or anguish, but because of his total lack of any emotion whatsoever. It appeared that Minato had just died inside. She stopped crying long enough to hand Naruto to Minato and then ran out of the room. Minato stood there for the longest time, looking at his son, but not seeing him. This moment would probably be the most defining moment of Minato Namikaze's life. It had the potential to rescue him, to place him back on the road of light, and for him to regain the inner life that his recent catastrophe had taken away. Or he could withdraw in himself, and commit reckless acts of insanely dangerous peril in order to be reunited with Kushina yet again. That last one sounds so much simpler, not like I'm gonna live anyway. But then suddenly his choice was made for him. His hour-old son reached up and grabbed on his hair. Minato snapped back into reality to look upon what appeared to be a miniature version of himself. His son. The look of total concentration on the infant's face was adorable, as the baby grabbed onto the spiky golden locks of his father. Minato smiled, "Hi there Naruto, I'm your daddy, I love you, and I think that you'll grow up to hate me with all your heart. Because what I'm going to do to you, one would not wish upon even his most fervent enemy. I am going to seal the Kyuubi no Kitsune inside of you. Sure, I could ask someone else, but the Hokage cannot ask someone to do what he would not be willing to do himself. So here it is, son, I'm going to get myself killed, and consumed by the Shinigami himself, so I can save a bunch of villagers. Eat your heart out, kid." Naruto just cooed. Minato chuckled, "I'm going to miss you, son, I'm going to miss your mother too, but at least I knew her, and had time with her. What I would give to at least be able to say the same about you. You look like me, but how much like me are you really? Maybe you're like Kushina, clumsy, loud, quick to anger but with the amazing ability to befriend anyone you meet. Maybe you'll be like me, serious one moment and laughing the next. I think the only regret I'll have is leaving you behind. Ah well, come on son, let's find someone to feed you. Because later tonight, we meet fate." Some speech Minato-sensei. Too bad the kid won't remember it. "Where's Kushina? I wanted to offer my congrats." Minato whirled around, only to see his now Onbo student Kakashi, codenamed Inu, dog. And behind the scarecrow, Jiraiya and Sarutobi were making their appearance known. "Hey, is that my godson? Come here Gaki, it's your uncle Jiraiya." It was clear that the people in the doorway couldn't see the ghastly scene in the room, and so caught up in their vision of the little child that they didn't smell the unusually high amount of iron. Only the Sun Daime remained quiet, being significantly older than the others in the room. His powers of observation were much more highly honed. As such, he noticed the quiet pain in Minato's eyes, and the fact that Tsunade wasn't here was troubling. He noticed that the last Namikaze seemed to be standing in the farthest corner from the door. So with a look at his successor that told the Yondaime volumes, he finally spoke up. "Why don't we take Naruto and Minato and leave Kushina be?" Even as he said, he was shepherding Kakashi and Jiraiya out the door, with a pointed look at Minato. The Yondaime, with one last glance at his wife, left the room. He had a fox to seal and a date with a death god to keep. The four strongest shinobi in the Leaf were currently getting ready to engage in the battle of their life, with a sleeping foe. They heard a shrill whistle and so it began. Jiraiya and Kakashi, the bait, went out and from opposing sides unleashed some fairly destructive attacks. Raiten, Reihiryu no Jutsu, lit. Flying Lightning Dragon. Doton, Numi Yuma, Swamp of the Underworld. The plan was for Kakashi to try and short-circuit the beast for a few seconds while Jiraiya would try to slow it down with the bottomless swamp, at least in theory anyway. A lightning dragon flew from Kakashi's hands, but the Kyuubi, theoretically asleep, just held up its tails and blocked the attack. And as for the swamp that was supposed to be consuming the fox, Kyuubi's aura merely grew so that the fox was doing a massive version of the water walking exercise. All without opening its eyes. "Screw this, hey fox. Wake the fuck up." The Kyuubi feigned indifference. Jiraiya grew bolder. "Hey fox, if you're afraid to fight the gallant Jiraiya, I understand, maybe I'll just have to eat your babies." Kakashi looked over at Jiraiya, and even with an Anbu mask on you could tell that he was giving a what the fuck face. With Jiraiya's last insult, the fox opened one eye and growled, "Mortals, you dare bring my kits into this? I will eat not only your flesh but your soul." Then the fox's eyes changed. What had once been simple vertical slit pupils and red eyes, intimidating enough, now had 9 tomos like bent fox tails around the pupil. The tomos were black, the right eye had the tomo curving in a counterclockwise direction, and the left eye had them curving clockwise. They started spinning as the Kyuubi's aura grew more and more malevolent. It looked like nothing so much as a black and red whirlpool, like looking into it would suck away your soul. Jiraiya quickly looked away. "Like what you see, mortal? This is my Dojutsu, the Kitsunegan. It was the first Dojutsu and all others were born from it. It is the mark of my mastery over all demon kind, and was gifted unto me by Kami himself. I was going to make your deaths quick, pathetic shinobi, but now I will make you suffer. Just as you have made me suffer, worthless tools of the Kuroi Kitsune no Hachibi." Black Fox of 8 Tails. The Sandaime and Yondaime looked on, remembering the stories about the godlike Dojutsu. Legend of the Dojutsu. A long time ago 3 ninja looking for more power had been on a journey across the land. Their names were Hiryu Hyuga, Kenshin Uchiha and the last was merely called Saro. They were the original Sannin, three of the strongest ninja ever to exist. They lived in a time long before the existence of the hidden villages. The story goes that the three had been just walking along when they felt power levels so enormous that any lesser ninja would have been crushed. Even these three were hard-pressed to keep walking. After brief consultation they journeyed towards the source of the massive chakra. What they saw was so breathtaking that words couldn't describe it. They saw the fight between two eight-tailed demon foxes, fighting for the title of Kyuubi. They were clearly battling for dominance and titles. The story tells that the two were as different as night and day. One was as black as night and an aura of hatred and malice was rising off of him. He had scars all along his body, clear evidence of years of fighting. He should have been an awe-inspiring sight, but his aura was so foul and debased that the nin merely felt sick instead. The other was blonde, like the sun, and his aura was that of sorrow and hatred. He was clearly enraged by something, and the nin couldn't help but feel inspired by the beautiful creature. Before he knew what he was doing, the Uchiha had joined the fight. No one knew what really happened in the battle, or whose side they joined, or even how they won. But two facts remain the same. Kenshin Uchiha joined the battle first, and then the three were gifted with their own Dojutsu by the winner, who gave them properties of his own Kitsunegan Sharingan for the Uchiha, with its mythical final power of being able to summon the Kyuubi itself, said to be a repayment for Kenshin's selfishness. It barred the Kitsunegan's precognition abilities, and the ability to see through genjutsus. However, unforeseen abilities included the ability to copy jutsus and all the abilities of the Mangekyo Sharingan, Byakugan for the Hyuga, said to be a gift for Hiryu's piercing vision. It gave the user godlike 360-degree vision, and it sprung from the Kitsunegan's ability to see Tenketsu. The X-ray vision factor was not one that had been foreseen merely because the Kitsunegan did not have it. The last one, said to be almost a myth, was the Rinnegan. It was given to the man who called himself Sorrow. It gave the user the ability to use all known jutsus and sprang from the fact that demons possess all 5 chakra elements and can use almost all jutsus without hand signs. Not much is known about this Dojutsu except that some would call it strongest, after its parent of course. Sorrow would later go on to call himself the Rikadu Sennin, the Sage of the Six Paths, and he became a revolutionary of the shinobi world. It is said that the winner of the battle between the two eight-tailed foxes grew a 9th tail, and turned red. Sarutobi knew that the Kitsunegan nearly impossible to beat, especially for just the 4 of them. Minato knew it was now or never. Ninpa, Kushios no Jutsu. Ninja art, summoning technique, come on Game Ubuntu. It's now or never. Let's go. The boss frog, now summon, led Minato and Sarutobi on his back. He hopped over the forest and, drawing his sword, went to attack the Kyuubi, knowing full well that he might die. But damn it, he would try to take that demon with him. Sarutobi, noticing that Minato wasn't looking, took out a pill. A pill he had been working on with the help of the Akimichi clan. It would increase his chakra 100-fold, but the cost was that it would burn up his body. He knew that right now the only one in the village with enough chakra to seal the Kyuubi would be his successor. Not anymore. I retired so I wouldn't have to deal with the hassle of this village anymore. That is supposed to be his job. I got to retire. Paperwork will never get its claws in me ever again. I'm too old for that shit, damn it. He popped the pill into his mouth at the same time swinging the staff down on his successor's head. The Ondaime went out like a light. Feeling that much chakra course through him, chakra that was over 25 times as strong as him in his prime, 20 times that of his successor's current chakra, only made him appreciate the Kyuubi's power a little more. He was still only about half as strong as the beast. Game Ubuntu? I need you to hold him off while I start the Shiki Fuujin. Sarutobi? What are you doing? What did you do to Minato? I'm going to do this jutsu bunda, so just shut up and hold him off, before we all go down. As you wish, Sarutobi-san. When Game Ubuntu showed up on the scene, Jiraiya and Kakashi jumped to the relative safety of his head, where they found a Sarutobi who was glowing bright blue with chakra performing over 150 hand seals. Sarutobi-sensei? This was your plan? To take Minato's place? But why? Because the will of fire is in the younger generations, not the elder. Because it is the elder's duty to be surpassed. Because I don't feel like losing another person who has become precious to me. Because I'm tired. Because I'm way too old for this shit. But mostly? Because I want to. So Jiraiya, remember to add the Haki Fun, 8 trigram seal, and the Shisho Fun, 4 symbol seal, to the Shiki Fuujin, corpse spirit sealing method. or Naruto won't be able to access the demon's chakra. And tell Tsunade that it's not her fault. Tell her to take care of Naruto and Minato. I have a feeling she'll need it. Goodbye, old friend and pupil." With that, the Shinigami appeared behind Sarutobi and reached through him to start pulling the Kyuubi into Naruto. The demon howled, long and mournful, not the blood-curdling animosity they had come to expect, but instead one full of mournful sorrow. "Kuroi. You took everything. And now your puppets have taken what's left." With one last smile, the former Sun Daime Hokage was taken up by Shinigami to wait in the death god's stomach until his now eternal rival could come meet him. Jiraiya summoned Bunta and grabbed his student, leaving Kakashi to take the child. Tomorrow is going to be just another day, right? Poor Jiraiya, he had never been so wrong. Namikaze Minato woke up with a splitting headache to the incredibly annoying sound of small birds chirping. "Kushina, go shut him up, will you? Kushina, Kushina, wait, oh god." The memories of the last day flooded in. Minato jumped up, and got out of bed, only briefly wondering how he had gotten there, looking for his son. He walked out of his bedroom, heading towards his kitchen. Stopping, he realized that that direction would take him by the delivery room. He quickly hurried down to the kitchen to be greeted with a sight so strange that it snapped him out of his near-panic state into a state of almost complete catatonia. Tsunade, legendary kunoichi of the Sannin, was breastfeeding his son. Jiraiya had obviously had an interesting reaction, because he was out cold. Kakashi was waving some smelling salts under his nose, which he probably couldn't smell anyway because of the immense amount of blood that was sprayed in two huge streams down his chest. This was his family. No, too many were missing, people, friends, lovers, that could never be replaced. His brother, Fume, dying on the second day of the attack while protecting a band of Genin that should never have been out there in the first place. His predecessor and friend, sacrificing himself last night to defeat the beast. And his wife, and best friend, dying to give birth to the container for the demon, his very own son, who was currently suckling happily on the Sannin's giant breast. Mind out of the gutter, Minato. Your wife just died, for God's sake. Ah, poor Naruto. I know it's not your fault you'll grow up without a mother. But I need to check if you're still there. Who knows what the Kyuubi might do? I heard just looking into his eyes could destroy your very soul, let alone housing him. I wonder how strong Ajisen made that seal. If I can remember right, I think he had ingested a chakra-increasing pill that made him around 10 times stronger than me. So I think he would have enough chakra to seal the Kyuubi properly. I should check though. Since I designed the Shiki Fuujin, I think I can adapt the Hiraishin to let me travel inside his head, using the seal as a medium. Tsunade broke him from his reverie. "Oh, morning Minato, how are you? I am really sorry for leaving Kushina alone last night. It's just, there were no complications, and I was needed elsewhere. I'm so sorry." "Tsunade, I know you were doing what I was doing, we were looking after the village. It's my fault as much as yours. If I was there I could have done something. But we weren't, and it will do neither us nor the village any good if we keep moping about. The thing for me to do now is to be there for Naruto, unlike I was for his mother." He even tried to put on a smile, a kind of sickly pale one, but a smile nonetheless. Tsunade nodded, astounded at the maturity displayed by the 25-year-old Yondaime. "Ah, Jiraiya, he is truly a genius, to be so mature even after studying under you. Wait, what is he staring at? No way, he wouldn't dishonor Kushina like that. He must be staring at Naruto. Yes, definitely at Naruto." "Minato, would you like to hold your son?" she prompted, seeing as how Minato seemed to be lost in his thoughts again. Oh yes. I must go inform the villagers and the shinobi of Kyuubi's defeat and Sarutobi Ojisen's sacrifice. I should probably inform them of Naruto's tenant, although that should at least wait until I have checked him out." "Are you going to tell them Naruto is your son? And are you sure it's a good idea to inform the villagers about his prisoner? Wouldn't it be easier to inform them that the Sun Daime had killed the Kyuubi? Do you think the villagers won't simply think the Kyuubi's controlling you through him?" "Have faith in the village, Kakashi. They will know that Naruto is my son, and they will treat him accordingly." "What, with fawning and ass-kissing? Aren't those the sort of things the Namikaze were famous for hating? What would your brother Fune say? And besides, maybe they'll decide to do you a favor by offing the child and restoring your mind." Jiraiya had apparently woken up and, following the spirit of the moment, decided to throw his wholly unasked for 2 cents in. Namikaze Minato, meaning port, Namikaze, which can be broken down into Nami, waves, and Kaze, wind, so basically port in the storm. His brother's name, which I have decided is Namikaze Funfun meaning boat, means boat in the storm. That is enough. Naruto will be respected and praised for the burden he was chosen to carry, not hated because he is a monster. And besides, we have no idea why the Kyuubi attacked our village, so before we can follow through with any of this, first we must speak to my son's tenant. Now to say that the rest of the people in the room were shocked would be like saying ouch when your arm just got cut off. It was a gross understatement, but sometimes there's nothing else you can say. The rest of the people in the room were shocked. It literally looked like the Yondaime had pulled one of his many Raiden jutsu out of his arsenal and unleashed it on the unsuspecting people of his family. And not a little one like a Raiden, Hakureki Dageki no Jutsu, lightning release, thunder shock technique. I'm talking at least a Raiden, Beizurei Hiryu no Jutsu, lightning release, multiple flying lightning dragons technique. Predictably, the always calm and collected Kakashi recovered first. And how, pray tell dear sensei, are you going to do that? I will adapt the Hiraishin, using Naruto's seal as the medium, and manipulate spacetime to place me inside a physical manifestation of his conscious mind, where the Kyuubi resides. Collective sweat drop. Wow, wasn't expecting an answer that would actually make sense. I was expecting more of a, I will chop the kid's head open and see if his brain is red. If it is, he's the Kyuubi. If not, oh shit. Jiraiya Senin, you really are a weird guy, you know that, right? And no one, not even in jest, threatens my child. Got it? And just like that, the mercurial mood of the Yondaime Hokage surfaces. Smiling, laughing, crying one second, threatening, fighting and people dying the next. That had always been the way Minato was. Hey, don't make me have to beat some sense into Gaki. I'm the kid's godfather. And I will be his Aniki. Ah yes, the genius, who is also son of geniuses and who was trained by the greatest genius of the leaf, managed to say this little tidbit of information while giggling perversely and staring at Tsunade. I know he feels bad about Obito, but he didn't have to become him, and besides, his Aniki? What the fuck is with Kakashi? How can he be the kid's uncle if he never shows any emotion? And just fucking great, now he has a family of perverts. Thought Minato. Face it, Minato, we're your family, so you're going to have to put up with some minor idiosyncrasies and death threats because you love us. Remarkably insightful coming from a woman who was participating in what some might call the most idiotic cycle ever witnessed by mankind. She was choking Kakashi under one arm and Jiraiya under the other for being perverted and giggling. This was causing them to be even more perverted because they were getting a full frontal view of the legendary Tsunade's legendary knockers. This was causing her to then choke them harder for being perverts and bleeding all over her good shirt. What morons. Minato looked up out the window at the sky and wished that the bright blue expanse could try and be a little more depressing. He knew that he was just wasting time, but he still felt like the sky should weep. Too bad even being here is a delaying tactic. So much to do, but if I leave this house, if I go into the delivery room, if I hold my son, it all goes. This feeling of security I've surrounded myself with will be shattered, and I don't want to have to leave my bubble of safety. But I will, because it's my dream. It's part of my job as Hokage, and most importantly it's for Naruto. Naruto Namikaze, my son, my legacy, and the great hero of our village. Broken from his reverie once again, he looked up, only to find that this time it was his son, who, his appetite satiated and his food source gone, decided to go with all baby's third favorite thing, crying until someone cared enough to shut him up. Tsunade immediately went over and comforted the child, all the while muttering about how certain Urobeikas better not pervert her godchild or there would be hell to pay. Surprisingly, it was Jiraiya that asked what the three non-Namikazes were all thinking. So Minato, what's next? I know how you feel. Hell, we all feel it. But Kushin is gone, and as much as we will all miss her, and trust me, my heart weeps, you have a son and a village to take care of. What next? What are we going to do? First, you three announced to the village that tomorrow is a day of mourning. We have lost too many great shinobi, and any Kage's death is to be treated as a holiday for his sacrifice. Then, because of our great numerical weakness due to the attack in the Third Great Shinobi War, we have to start sending any ninja from Jonin rank on up out doing C and above rank missions. Have the academy students doing D rank missions, also lower the academy graduating age. We must send more shinobi out on missions to make it seem as if the attack did nothing to hurt our forces. We should temporarily break the Anbu Hunter Division down to Jounin rank so that they can take more missions other than village-related ones. Missing nins, even Orochimaru, are not our primary concern right now. That should let the village at least cope with the attack and not flounder. What do you mean we're going to do it? Why can't you do it? What will you be doing? Me? I will travel inside of Naruto's seal to talk to the Kyuubi. If all goes well, I will find out that my son's soul is alive and well and that Ojisan's seal went off without a hitch. If not, then I destroy the Kyuubi's new body. With the seals that you added, Jiraiya-sensei, then the Kyuubi should die when his host is destroyed. He finished that last statement with a look of steely determination that made Jiraiya want to weep. My student, your life has been harsh, you've killed and seen too much death for anyone your age, hell, anyone any age. And yet you're still that same optimistic gaki that inspired everyone to give you the job of Hokage at the age of 25. You truly are Konoha's #1 unpredictable ninja. Alright Minato, however, I still think that informing the villagers of the Kyuubi's current state is not a good idea. Well then Kakashi, you don't have to be there when I do it. Instead you can be one of those Anbu I bust down to Joun in rank and make train one of the new Junon squads. I mean, of course I will be there to stand beside you as you tell the village that your son contains the demon that slaughtered half of their village over the past 2 weeks. Maybe I'll be there for the first assassination on Naruto Oi-kun as well, Oi nephew, just to stop it from getting out of control, you know. In fact, Kakashi? Shut up, he's gone. What? Where? How? Kakashi, sometimes I wonder if you should truly be called a genius. Hello? Does the fact that he's the world's strongest ninja ring any bells? Maybe it was the fact that he's a seal master of such caliber that he figured out how to manipulate space and time. I mean really, the fact that he got out of the room while you were stuck in self-righteous ranting mode shouldn't surprise you nearly as much as it does. Kakashi really didn't like the look on Tsunade's face. It was a look that meant contempt, and Sharingan Kakashi didn't like people looking at him with contempt. After all, he was a genius, son of a genius, and trained by the greatest genius of the times. But damn it, she's right, Sensei is gone, and he took Naruto. Damn. He must have gone to the council to tell them of his plans. No, he said he would do something first, something to do with the Kyuubi. Oh yeah. I remember what it was. He was going to talk to the Kyuubi, somehow modifying his Hirai Shinjutsu to travel through Naruto's seal into his mindscape. I remember thinking that plan might, actually, work. So he gets in there with a... Oh shit. It was interesting standing on your own head. At least Minato had always had that thought whenever he went to sit on top of the Hokage monument. He liked it up there. He had always thought that you could feel the spirits of the deceased Hokages up there. Sarutobi Oji-san. Why? You were not Hokage anymore. It wasn't your duty to sacrifice yourself for the village. It was my responsibility, not yours. It was my job, my responsibility. My problems. By the end, Minato was shouting to the skies. His son was crying, bawling his eyes out at his father's anger, something he was much too young to understand. Minato sighed and picked him up, humming softly as he had seen Tsunade do. As he wished he had gotten to see Kushina do the same. Kushina will never get to experience this. She will never get to comfort her child. God damn it. I haven't felt this aching, this pain, in so long. Not since my parents died and left Fune and I alone in the world. I was 14, Fune was 9, and although I was a jounin, and had killed many a time before, I had never felt that agony before. I haven't since. Until now. I never would have gotten through it then without Sarutobi Oji-san. I can still remember his words. Flashback no jutsu. Hokage-sama, I don't understand your interest. My brother and I are perfectly well off, my parents left a large will, and our family home is barely harmed by the fire. I understand that, Minato-kun. But I was not talking about your physical or economic status, I am talking about your state of mind. I know you must be hurting, you and Fune both. Hokage-sama, I am fine and so is Fune. We are perfectly capable of dealing with this on our own, sir. Really? So if I sent you on a mission you would be perfectly capable of doing it? On par with your usual level of excellence? On par with your father's, or your mother's? You're saying you're perfectly fine, A flicker of pain had crossed Minato's face when the Sandaime mentioned his parents. It passed almost as soon as it began, but it was enough for Sarutobi to tell that his words had hit home. Minato-kun, it is okay to feel emotion, it is okay to grieve. It shows us that we are human. Ah, I can see the argument you're trying to make, Minato-kun. Yes, it's true that we are shinobi, and that shinobi must not show emotion. But that does not mean we do not have them. So accept your grief and your sorrow. Cry your eyes out, and then get back to life. I do not mean forget your loved ones. I mean honor them by living and continuing on with your life. Think of them, think of the good times, and celebrate their existence. Do not dwell on their loss. Dwelling on their loss makes their life in vain. Think about what I said, Minato-kun. You are dismissed. Flashback Kai. Minato remembered just bowing and walking away. His mind was too in whirl in thoughts for him to even speak. It had been a few days before he had finally accepted what the old man had said. But Minato had grown stronger for it, just as he would now. He remembered thinking that Hokages must have some sort of insight that only came with the office. It was one of the reasons he originally wanted to become Hokage. Minato straightened. It was time to at least try and alleviate some of the horrendous wrong he had committed upon his only child. With a tender look he considered his son. "Alright Naruto, let's see what we can do about that tenant of yours." With that Minato started put up a protective barrier, his own personal favorite. It was created from 5 seals placed in a pentacle shape. After that Minato flashed through 15 hand seals and then called out the name of his creation. Makatawa Kanmon Fuin no Jutsu, Space-Time Distortion Barrier Seal Technique. A bubble appeared on top of the 4th Hokage's head. From the inside all it looked like was that there was a light yellow sheen on a solid blue chakra wall. From the outside, it looked like there was nothing there. Like they had disappeared off the map. They hadn't, of course. It was just the result of a highly sophisticated barrier technique that took the space around the bubble and bended it so that it appeared as if it weren't there. It also sped up time inside the bubble by about twice as long, so that theoretically if one were to spend 2 days in there, only one in the real world would pass. It also completely erased the people inside's chakra signatures, making the bubble impervious to all sorts of tracking. Basically, if you're in it, you're safe, impotent, but safe. Alright. So Kakashi and Jiraiya will handle the day of mourning announcement, and the village elders won't be able to demand to see me for about that long due to aforementioned announcement. So it looks like we have 2 days, buddy, to figure out your seal and how to get through it. Let's get started. 3-second pause. God damn it, I knew I forgot paper, food and all other necessities. I should try and do this really quickly, and then go get ramen. Naruto smiled and imitated his father, squeaking out something that sounded dangerously close to ramen. Thank God I brought that ramen storage scroll. I never would have survived without it. I do believe it's probably not healthy for Naruto to drink ramen broth from his bottle, but he ran out of milk yesterday. Ah well, time to finish up my brand new teleportation jutsu. He was still sitting on top of his own head, in the bubble. Minato estimated that he had been in there about 8 hours in the real world. He sighed and looked around. There were papers strewn around all over the top of his head. He then looked at Naruto. Minato pulled out a small scroll of paper with a lot of intricate writing on it. Placing the scroll face up on Naruto's stomach, he cried out, "Shikikato Kai no Jutsu, Corpse Spirit Gate Release Technique." A flash of light and the Yondaime disappeared into the now strangely quiet infant. Somehow he reappeared inside a blank white room holding the same infant whose mind he currently was invading. Upon further investigation he saw that one side of the room was a cage with the word Fuuin on the bars. Inside the gate sat 2 small foxes. One was golden, 3-tailed and frolicking around happily, the other was a red fox that was looking on at the other fox in what could only be expressed as mind-numbing pain, if such an expression can be applied to a vulpine face. The red fox turned around, its 9 tails whipping behind it as it grew. The other fox, obviously a demonic illusion of some sort, disappeared behind the growing bulk of the Kyubi no Kitsune. "Mortal. What is it you wish, you? You were the pack leader of this pathetic village, you were the white-haired one's accomplice. You designed this seal. Cursed tool of the Kuroi Kitsune no Hichibi, why do you come here?" "I am Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage of the village of Konoha, and I am Naruto Namikaze's father. Yes, I sealed you in my own son. I placed the welfare of myself and mine kin below that of the village. Probably not something you would understand, demon. I have lost many close to me because of you, and now you are going to answer my questions. Why did you attack here, and who is the Kuroi Kitsune no Hachibi?" Minato's furious query was met by derisive laughter that sent Naruto's mind projection crying. "Bah, cursed tool, you surely jest. You ask who the Kuroi Hachibi is. You are his tool, are you not?" "What do you mean? I am no one's tool. Answer me, fox. I am in no mood for your tricks, demon. I attacked your pathetic village because your ninjas killed my son, filthy tool. My only son, who had been so proud at obtaining his 4th tail, and you killed him. By the time I got back to my den, my son was dead and my daughter had fled. Around him were hundreds of piles of rocks that might have been people, and a black-haired man with a leaf forehead protector who reeked of snakes and fox. Not merely any fox, but my eternal rival, the Kuroi Hachibi. He laughed and told me I could find him at Konoha and then left in black flames. So I set out for your pathetic village and I started killing you all in a frenzy, looking for the man who reeked of snakes. The man. He had long black hair and had eyes like a snake. I believe I said that mortal. That is no friend of the Leaf. His name is Orochimaru, and he is the most wanted man alive by Konohagakure for crimes against the village and humanity. He is an S-class missing nin with a flea on-site rating. The piles of stone you saw were probably the result of Iwa Bunshines, which means he was working with the Stone Village, a people who have a price on my head so high that they could never actually pay it. You were tricked, Kyubi. This was a mock-up, and you would have my condolences for your loss if not for the fact that you were responsible for the deaths of my predecessor, my brother and my wife. Tricked? Me? Tricked? By a human? No, not a mere human. A human who is merely the cat's paw of my eternal enemy. That, I will believe. So human, if you and I have both lost loved ones as a result of the Hachibi's manipulations, shouldn't we be on the same side? You lost your loved ones, and I watched the bastard kill my mate, and order the slaughter of my son. I propose a non-aggression pact until our enemy is dead. Well, Kyubi, it appears you are right. What shall we give each other as a sign of this newfound partnership? I will give your son my Dojutsu, the Kitsunegan. It will allow him to see Tenketsu and chakra pathways almost to the extent of the Byakugan, allow him to read the opponent's moves to some extent, but not to the extent of the Sharingan. It will allow him to use all known jutsu like the Rinnegan. He gains limited resistance to Genjutsu and for each Tomoe it gains he can successfully utilize another tail of my demonic chakra without harm, remaining completely in control. There are 9 Tomoe, just like my tails. I will also teach him a taijutsu style for when he is older. That is generous, Kyubi. In exchange, if you provide me with details on your daughter, I will send Anbu to hunt her down and find her. Generous indeed, Yondaime, generous indeed. But the details will come later, for now I will treat this as her wild-born test. I see you are confused, Hokage. I will explain. When foxes of my clan come of age they are given a test to see if they are ready to become true demons and grow their third tail. They must survive 7 years in the wilderness. I already know she is alive, so 7 years from now I will have you find her. Now mortal, come over here so we may sign off on our bargain. Minato walked closer to the Kyubi's cage, where the fox had shrunk down to a more manageable size. A flash of fire and a contract appeared. So we sign in blood? Yes. Minato signed, and the Kyubi morphed into a humanoid form, signed, and turned back. Noting Minato's eyebrow raise, he explained that the humanoid form is something that Kitsune Yoko gain on their wild-born awakening. Now leave mortal, I will train your son in his mindscape as soon as he awakens his Kitsunegan, not before. The Yondaime nodded, and in silence teleported out of his son's mindscape. Minato Namikaze, Yondaime Hokage of the village hidden in the leaves, sat on his couch in his office staring at the ceiling. Now some may argue that this is not fitting behavior for a leader of a village as big as Konoha. And the 15 shadow clones Minato had made to do all his paper and busy work would have agreed. Until Minato stuck a weak, free-will destroying seal on them, making them more like zombies than anything. Dashing, handsome zombies if you were to ask Minato. The reason for Minato's quiet contemplation was the conversation he had had with the Kazekage and the village council earlier today. Flashback no jutsu. So, to go over your idea one more time. You want to propose a political alliance with Konoha? Yes. No problems there. So to cement your proposed alliance, you wish to marry your 5-year-old daughter, to my 4-year-old son. Well, not married yet, merely betrothed until your son comes of age, or becomes a chunin. Well, I'm not one for arranged marriages, but, Yondaime-sama, if I may interject, I don't think we can trust something this important to Ida. Living up to his name, even without his technique. Minato was at his councilman's throat in a second. In a deadly whisper he started declaiming, my son is no demon, and I told you years ago that the Kyubi was manipulated into the attack. Now, if you continue to try to weaken my position in front of potentates from foreign villages, I will have you tried for treason and gross malfeasance. I will then personally execute you for insulting my family's honor, something which I believe the Hyugas or Uchihas would have no trouble for killing you, so you can count their protection out. Got that, Homura Dono? When he let go, the elder councilman was looking like someone had just trod on his gravestone. Minato turned away, outwardly satisfied but inwardly seething. So Tsubasa-san, as I was saying, I am generally not one for arranged marriages, but since our offspring get along so famously that I actually believe they could be happy together, I approve. Well said Minato-san, well said, commented Fugaku Uchiha, not even looking at Minato, but instead at the other student of the Sannin Jiraiya. Agreed, said Hiashi Hyuga, looking at his rival and other former Genin team member with barely veiled fury. Flashback Kai. So the two had signed a deal that would send Temari to live in Konoha 6 months out of the year every year, and Naruto to live in Suna for 6 months every year until they came of age to enter the academy. Minato couldn't help but think how eerily similar it was to his deal with the Kyuubi 4 years ago. With a word of thanks, the Kazekage had left, leaving Minato to wonder on the intricacies of how such momentous occasions as the signing away of his son's soul in marriage to a girl at such a tender age could possibly feel so mundane. It didn't help that the council hated his son's guts. In fact, half of them believed the fact that Naruto looked like the Yondaime was merely more proof that the demon has taken over, and was subtly influencing Minato by pretending to be the son that had supposedly died during his mother's complicated childbirth. He wouldn't have minded if the object of their hatred had been anyone but his own son. Not for the last time he cursed the village that he gave his all for. If only Kakashi hadn't been right, life would have been so much easier. He hadn't been too busy pondering to notice the calculating looks on his former Genin squad members' faces though. Fugaku and Hiashi, his once best friends, they had inherited their clans' hatreds for each other. Obviously they were plotting something, and as the two biggest clans of the village, whatever they would be planning would be big. On the other hand, however big, no trouble the clans could cause could match up to the trouble he was sure his 4-year-old son was getting into right now. Naruto laughed as he ran down the street, oblivious to the looks of hatred and jealousy. He was happy that he had managed to outwit the Anbu that his father had keeping an eye on him. He didn't know why he had Anbu tailing him in his own home, but he chalked it up to the fact that he was the Hokage's son and his father might have enemies somewhere. It had been easy enough to escape the Anbu, well, easy for a kid like him. All he had to do after all was go to the bathroom, use a stink bomb and escape out the window by using chakra to stick to the wall of the house. Relatively easy stuff for a prodigy child who was related to 4 of the greatest ninjas of all time. Well, only one if you just count by blood, but Kakashi, Aniki, Jiraiya, Oji-san, and Tsunade, Oba-san, were all great ninjas. Suddenly Naruto got a chill like something life-changing had just happened. It was kind of like someone had just taken his soul. He looked around, then, satisfied that there were no immediate threats to his person, he kept moving. I'll have to thank her Aniki for letting me learn the tree climbing exercise, even if it was only by accident. I've been training that since I learned what chakra is and I can still only manage about 6 steps. I think I only have about 10 minutes before the Anbu check on me again. I really need to learn that cage bunshine thing that Dad uses to do everything. I could totally sneak out and only Uraniki's Sharingan could tell the difference, and he wouldn't tattle because I know where he hides his books. Naruto knew where he was headed, to the park, to meet his only friends. Oblivious to the reason for the hatred and jealousy of those around him, he thought that he wasn't a very likable person, and cherished the few friends he had. His main problem was that the friends he was meeting today weren't even from Konoha, they were from Suna. Yes, it was the elder 2 San siblings, Temari, age 5 and Kankuro, age 7. However, when he got to the park that was reserved for the upper class of Konoha, not out of any sort of discrimination, but because of security reasons he immediately noticed something was wrong. This particular observation did not require a genius to make, although Naruto was indeed a genius. Instead it stemmed from the fact that the Chunin-level security guards were busy fighting a Nukenin that had to be a Jounin, from Kuza, grass, if the headband was any indication. Naruto's febrile mind immediately noticed several things about the scenario. 1. The Chunin were almost gone, there were around 4 of them and 2 were dead, 1 was trying to stuff his intestines back in his body, and the last had several cuts all over his body, obviously he wouldn't last much longer. 2. The Jounin was at about half strength, and had several cuts that were slowing him down. He had obviously not counted on the amount of guards that were there. 3. Kankuro and Temari were shell-shocked from watching their bodyguards get cut down in front of their eyes. 4. It was obvious that the San siblings were being targeted here. 5. The Jounin was unaware of Naruto's presence. 6. Naruto's own strength was low Genin level at best at the tender age of 4. 7. He was no match for the Jounin in straight combat. but since he had very little chakra signature he could probably sneak up on him. In the 2.34 seconds it took for the 4-year-old to analyze the data that had presented itself to him and come up with the best possible plan for the scenario. The Jounin had finished off the last Chunin and was heading for the children. He had let his guard down though. He wasn't aware of the situation and it looked like he was enjoying the fear from the children. What a fucking sicko, getting his jollies off on little kids' fear. Oh yes. Minato would not like what Kakashi and Jiraiya had unknowingly been teaching Naruto. Whispering to himself, Naruto tried to psych himself up for what he knew would probably be his first and last real fight. Alright, 2 shuriken to the backs of the knees, Kakaniki said. That is a place that will incapacitate if struck quickly and strongly. As he spoke he followed suit, throwing 2 shuriken faster than a 4-year-old should be able to. It would have worked had his now fiancée hadn't gasped at the sight of her friend suddenly jumping out and attacking the man. He saw her gasp, and spun around in time to notice the shuriken. All he did was stick up one steel-toed boot-clad foot and dispassionately let them bounce off. His dispassion faded as he noticed the fact that the attacker was one spiky-haired blue-eyed namikaze Naruto. Ho ho ho, it appears I will be getting double the gain for this little kidnapping escapade. The Hokage's brat. Perhaps Orochimaru-sama will reward me with a little girl. It was a combination of a few things that made the 4-year-old snap. Perhaps it was the fact that one of his very few, and we're talking counting on one hand few, friends was being assaulted. Perhaps it was the fact that he had referred to Naruto as the Hokage's brat. Perhaps it was that eternal curse of the ninja prodigy, to fight and die in the quest for more power and to test their worth. But mostly, it was the exorbitant amount of bloodlust that poured off of his tenon at the mention of the snake Sanin's name. Naruto charged the Jounin in a blind rage, lacking any sort of style or fluidity. Just speed that, while astounding for a 4-year-old, was nothing compared to that of the wounded Jounin. So it should come as no surprise that Naruto found himself on his face in front of his friends, with a steel-toed boot on his back. "Naru-kun. You okay?" screamed out his brand new, still blissfully unaware of said fact, fiancé. "I'm okay, Tama-chan. But don't worry about me, I'm here to protect you, even if it costs me my life." Brave, astoundingly, mature words from a 4-year-old. He had heard them from his father and his uncle as they stood over him ready to give their lives to protect him from assassins, or even drunk villagers, but they hadn't registered. Even now, he was ignorant as to the true meaning of those words, but he understood better than most. He knew that since Tama-chan and Kuro-kun were his friends, he wouldn't let her go until he was sure that he had done everything in his power to make sure that hadn't happened. Touching words, kid. But you know, little boys shouldn't talk so big, or else they might have to be taught a lesson. I know. I'm only being paid to kidnap one brat, so maybe I should kill one of them in front of your eyes. Yeah, that'll work. So caught up in his own words that he was momentarily unaware of the sudden spike in killing intent from the little boy whose back his foot was standing on. It suddenly rose from almost non-existent to enough to make the Jounin freeze up in fear, much more than anyone, especially a 4-year-old, should be able to produce. Wah, what is this? Who could be producing this killing intent? This is inhuman. Suddenly the Jounin found his leg being thrown off the 4-year-old's back. Groggily, he got up, only to freeze at the sight of a blonde-haired blue-eyed 4-year-old with waves of chakra flowing off of him. Wait, scratch that. Blonde-haired slit-pupiled 4-year-old with waves of chakra that had an aura of barely contained rage. Deep inside Naruto's mind, the Kyuubi smiled sorrowfully, mourning the loss of innocence at such a young age. "It has begun, kid. Let us see if you survive the first awakening of mine eyes." Naruto began speaking, in a voice wholly unlike the one he had used earlier. "Don't threaten my friend's creep. I'll kill you." And with that he disappeared, reappearing in less than a blink of an eye, feet braced on his opponent's chest with both tiny clawed hands on his opponent's throat. The Jounin could tell that this thing was an entirely different foe from the half-trained brat he had fought mere seconds before. This was something that could kill without mercy. The ex-Kuzunin was speechless. He was staring into eyes that looked like they were about to pull out his soul. The iris was deep purple. The pupil was a thin slit, like that of a canine or feline, and there were concentric rings that started from the outside of the iris and went to the edge of the eye. Inside the first ring on each eye was a single toma that wriggled sinuously like a snake, or a tail. The rings alternated in color between red and purple. As he stared at them, the tomo seemed to start spinning. And then the boy spoke. "Feel that fear? That's the last thing you'll ever feel, creep. Enjoy it." And with that he ripped out the Jounin's throat, spattering them both in a rain of blood. Naruto slumped to the ground, sitting suddenly exhausted. Then he remembered his original purpose, and he raised his tired head to gaze at the San siblings. They were mercifully passed out, probably a result of the massive killer intent he had released earlier, which hopefully meant they didn't see his kill. The kill. It had happened so fast, he was just absorbed into something big. Something happened and Naruto didn't understand what it was. So many thoughts and emotions swirling through his head. So as Naruto sat there and stared at the ex-living, ex-ninja, all he could think of to say was, "Whoa," which led to the curious incident a few minutes later where Anbu appeared on the scene chasing after their charge, only to find him asleep in a pool of blood, with the dead Kuza ninja a few feet away and several unconscious dignitaries' children several feet beyond that. To their credit, they immediately took charge of the situation, picking up the children and disposing of the corpses. They disappeared from the scene, leaving the wind companionless except for the blood. Naruto's head. Population 3. Naruto woke up in grassy field with storm clouds overhead. Where am I? Well son, you're in your mind. Duh, Dad? What are you doing here? And why am I here? And what do you mean inside my mind? Well Minato, it appears that your son is still inquisitive despite what happened. That's good, very few remain themselves after their eyes awakening. Who? What? Are you? Naruto took stock of his surroundings again. He was still in a grassy plain with storm clouds rumbling ominously overhead. On one side of him was a large wall made of iron bars with the kanji for seal on it. His father was sitting next to him, and what Naruto saw in the cage made him jump onto his father's lap for comfort. A giant yellow fox, with 8 tails, and red slit-pupiled eyes that had concentric rings and 8 tomo in the first ring. All in all quite the scary creature. Naru-chan. We are in your mind, you're here because you're unconscious and I'm here because I have a special jutsu that lets me in. Daddy. Why is there a giant blonde fox in my brain? Naruto had returned to normal 4-year-old vocabulary at the sight of the giant demon. The Kyuubi, scratch that, Hachibi now, sweat dropped, and then sulkily replied but I'm a red fox. Actually Kyuubi, you aren't a Kyuubi anymore, so I guess that would explain your color change. You told me that the red color and the 9th tail are symbols of your status as the Kyuubi. So since Naruto absorbed one of your tails, you are only a Hachibi, thus your return to your supposed original blonde color. Naruto, who had started looking scared as soon as his dad had mentioned the name Kyuubi, and then grew progressively more terrified at each utterance thereafter, finally spoke up. KY, Kyuubi? Daddy. You told me the Sun Daime defeated him. But he's in my brain. Wah. What is going on? Naruto, let me explain first from the very beginning. 4 years ago a great tragedy occurred. This monumental occurrence caused a ripple effect of many other tragedies. Seeing the expression on his son's face he sighed. Naruto's brain apparently wasn't operating to his usual standards. He guessed fright will do that. Basically, something bad happened, and that one bad thing caused a lot of other bad things to happen. Oh, okay Dad. This first and most terrible event was when one of the greatest traitors of Konoha, Orochimaru, your Oogi-san and Ba-san's other teammate from long ago, attacked the den of the Kyuubi no Kitsune, Lord of the Demons. He had help from the Kyuubi's lifelong enemy, the Kuroi Kitsune no Hachibi. They then slaughtered Kyuubi's son, and forced his daughter to flee. He was wearing his Konoha forehead protector, because he used to be one of us, and the Kyuubi assumed that he represented Konoha, and attacked us thinking we were all his enemy's tools. Minato-san. Before we go any further I believe I must clarify, I am no longer the Kyuubi, that is a title reserved for the Lord of Demons, which is no longer me, because I am merely an Hachibi. So you may call me by my name, I am Gokitsu, the Go-Ruden Kitsune no Hachibi, for now. Arigatou gozaimasu, Gokitsu, shall I continue? Naruto? Hi, father. Minato smiled. It was obvious he had regained some of his composure after hearing that Gokitsu was not a bloodthirsty monster. Anyway, he came within the range of Konoha's scouting forces, and we moved forward to recon. However, Gokitsu slaughtered all but one of our forces, and so we moved to engage him wholesale. For 2 whole weeks we attacked him again and again, losing about 40% of our shinobi forces. I myself engaged him upwards of 4 times, all for naught. He was simply too powerful. So I came up with a desperate gamble, something that was wrong on so many levels, but right on the one level that mattered the most, to sacrifice myself to seal the demon, no offense Gokitsu-san, inside a newborn child. Minato grimaced as he saw what the effect his words were having on his son's febrile mind. Naruto's expression said it all. The faint comprehension, as he understood the words on a surface level, then the shock and the horror as they finally sunk in. His father had meant to sacrifice himself to seal a demon into Naruto, leaving him all alone. "You were going to leave me all alone? You were going to be just like mommy? How could you do that? And if you meant to sacrifice yourself, how come you're still alive?" "Naruto, I know this is hard for you. I have given you every reason to hate me, but please try to understand. When you become Hokage, you swear on your honor, on your soul, on your life, liberty and love that you will do whatever it takes to protect the village, because that's what being Hokage means. I had just lost my brother, and my wife, your mother, and I myself was about to die. I was about to kill myself for the sake of the village, and I had never felt worse about my dream to become Hokage. If knowing back then what I know now, I'm not sure if I would have made the same choice. But I didn't, though I did know this. As Hokage I had only one thing left in the world that I could possibly give to the village, and damn it all if the only one thing that was needed was just that. My son. Yes, you, Naruto. But I was given a second chance. Sarutobi-sama. Sarutobi-sama gave me a chance to right the wrong I was about to commit by condemning an innocent child to suffer at the hands of the very villagers he was supposed to protect. I got to make sure that you have at least one person who cares, and by extension, you have 3 more. Dad, I know you. Even if you knew then what you know now, you still would have made that choice. But, that's the Hokage's job, and if I want to be Hokage too, how can I hate you for that?" Astounded at his son's maturity, the only response he had was nonverbal. He hugged Naruto as hard as he could, silently weeping, astounded at the caring in his son's soul. Thank you Naruto-chan. Thank you my son." Cough, cough, cough. While a tearjerker this may be, we're getting distracted. Although if one were to look, they would have noticed several tears on his muzzle, dreaming of his own son, so recently dead for a demon that was thousands of years old. "Don't cry Gokutsu Aniki, it's all right." Minato smiled, his beloved's unique magic lived in Naruto to this day. That wondrous ability to befriend anyone you meet, an ability surely greater than any Kake Genkai. "Gaki? Did you just call me Aniki?" "Well, I figure if you're gonna be here a while, I might as well get used to you, which makes you family nay." Remarkably insightful son. Which leads me to the next thing. Gokutsu-san, he has unlocked his eyes, so the time for training has come, has it not? True, very well then, I shall teach him the secrets of his eyes. And I shall instruct him in the Dokuketsuken, Poison Fox Fist, as I promised. Awesome, I'm gonna be better than you in no time Dad. Quiet Gaki, there are a few things we must go over first. Number 1, you'll address me as Gokutsu-sensei until you are a master of the Dokuketsuken, which might take a while, and by that I mean forever. Number 2, orange is a bad color, black is a good color. Try to incorporate that philosophy in your clothing choice from now on. And last, number 3, if you aren't what you humans call Rookie of the Year when you graduate from your Junon class, I will take away your eyes. I refuse to have a substandard container. You are my only hope to defeat my lifelong enemy, Kuroi. Gokutsu-sensei, who is this Kuroi you speak of? Why do you hate him so? That, Kit, is a lesson for another day. We will train in your mindscape for at least 3 hours every day, but I expect you to push your body in the real world as well. Also, try and get your chakra pathways as used to handling large amounts of chakra all at once. The Dokuketsuken won't work otherwise. The fox smiled. The boy and his father were drooling from information overload. One last thing to push him over the edge, he thought, as well. I'm expecting lots of children in the future because, remember, you're engaged to my daughter as the new Demon Lord. Naruto passed out as well as one can in one's own mind, leading to him waking up. Well, I guess that's my call to go Gokutsu-san. Thank you, this has been a good time for me. Although I don't know how Naruto's gonna get around having 2 fiancés. 1 woman is bad enough, 2 will be. Both males shuddered, united in their pity. Then Minato disappeared, with one last sorrowful salute. It has been good for me as well Minato-san, very good. The Demon Lord thought to himself as he pondered why he felt the wind's cold chill in the mind of a 4-year-old child. Minato Namikaze strolled along the battlements of the peaceful village of Konoha, taking in the sweet splendor of its strong walls and beautiful scenery. The sun was setting and it was shaping up to be a quite beautiful set. Behind him his son and his one-day daughter-in-law were strolling as well, hand in hand. Minato sighed as he put phantom pains out of his mind, thinking that Kushina would have loved that moment. Added it to her scrapbook maybe. It would be refreshing to have a good memory of Naruto in the coming years. Kami alone knew how many of those came around, very few even when Tamari was around. and almost none when she wasn't. Naruto's days were spent inside the clan compound, being trained by an Anbu, two cage-level ninjas intermittently and a demon fox of unimaginable power who focused mostly on taijutsu. The good news was that while Naruto was on the way to mastering the second kata of the Dokuketsuken, which because it involved projecting demonic chakra into opponents, much like Minato's old teammates Juken, consequently making him rather good at chakra control, and had high Jounin level chakra even without the Kitsunegan active, he was effectively a loner, although not out of choice, and none of his friends were Konoha natives. Through all the years, and even while in Suna, Minato had heard he had only made one more friend. It was way back when he was 5 and had just gone to Sunagakure for the first time. Flashback no jutsu. So Naruto, how was 6 months in Suna? Did you miss me? Well, at first, but Tama-chan is really fun like always, and Kuro-kun is almost as good as me at pranking. So, you didn't make any new friends? I didn't say that, did I, Dad? It just so happens I did make a new friend, even if you won't admit it. Oh? Minato said, extremely curious. Yup. Then what's his name? Eager to crack the newest enigma. Gaara. Flashback Kai. Minato sighed. He had no idea what had possessed Naruto to befriend a boy that an entire village shunned. A boy who his spies had at the time recently reported killed his own uncle. A boy who shunned his own brother and sister, and threatened to kill them. All in the past now, of course. Now that Naruto had befriended Gaara, Minato's spies reported that the homicide rate in Suna went down almost 75%. Shocking what finding someone who cared about you could do for your murderous bloodthirst apparently. But I'm getting sidetracked. The fact is Naruto has no one his own age to tie him to the village. I'm worried. He even states his dream to be Hokage less lately. It's not good for a 7-year-old to be so, not 7 years old. Little did Minato know, Naruto had made plenty of friends, especially in Konoha. He was the youngest ever master of the Kage Bunshin. And he put them to good use, using them to study while he got to go around the town. A naturally likable boy, he was very popular among those of his age group, and even those older than him. Dad? Tama-chan is getting cold, it's kinda windy up here, you know. Minato chuckled. Are you sure it's Tamari that's getting cold, son? Yeah. Anyway, I was gonna show her the clan compounds tonight. You just wanna spend time with her away from your old man, huh, don't ya, Naruto? The instant flush on Naruto's face and the distinct incomprehension on his fiancée's made it all too clear for what seemed the 1000th time just how mature Naruto was for his tender age of 7. And while in this case it was a good thing, in most cases it was just a painful reminder of how the villagers had messed up his childhood. Dad? I'm 7 for Kami's sake, cut me some slack, plus, we enter the academy next week, and that means I won't see for a long time. Yeah, you can go, just be careful. It's Konoha, what's the worst that could happen? Son, the fact that it is Konoha means that the worst could be very, very bad. Come on, Dad, you're just a pessimist. I'm sure that no mass murderers are living in Konoha at the moment. Itachi Uchiha sneezed unexpectedly. Well, fuck, I can't be getting a cold. Because Danzo-sama would not like it if I left someone alive due to poor health on my part. It would displease both him and me if an Uchiha was left alive due to my inattentiveness. Any threats to the village must be dealt with. Pity Ondaime-sama does not see it as I do. Flashback no jutsu. It was a council meeting between 4 of the most powerful people in Konoha. 2 were politically powerful, 1 was powerful in terms of his strength and 1 was both. Elder Council members Danzo and Homura, Anbu Captain Itachi Uchiha, and Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. No, I refuse to wipe out an entire clan of Konoha's most trusted shinobi just because you have circumstantial evidence of a coup d'etat. I refuse to give you final permission to do this. I will deal with the leaders of the coup as soon as you get me hard proof. That is final. As he said the last part he missed the meaningful look between Itachi and Danzo. Later. Itachi-san, it is a pity your idol does not see as we do, but he is blinded by his compassion. Compassion has no place in the world of shinobi, as it blinds you to what must come first. The village. Danzo knew exactly which buttons to push on his young companion. Now have you completed the preparations? Yes, Shisui-san is dead. I have obtained the Mangekyo. Will you hold your end of the bargain? Yes. Sasuke will never be told of the contempt some of the village has for the Uchiha. He will believe they are the premier clan of the village. He will be held in highest esteem. It will help that he will be held as a martyr for what you have put him through. Danzo mentally smiled at the wince that Itachi gave. And he will not be told of the reasoning for this? It is after all better that he hates me, than the village. After all, Konoha is one of the last bastions of peace in the world. If he or Naruto ever found the reason for what I did. Naruto namikaze? The Kyuubi brat? Danzo was surprised at the sudden anger on Itachi's face. It was irrational that he could have formed some sort of bond with the container. Danzo-sama, it saddens me that while you hold the protection of this village as your highest aim you could be so ignorant of its greatest hope. Naruto-kun shows much potential, greater than me, or Hatake Kakashi, greater than Sasuke, perhaps even greater even than that of his father. He is this village's, no the world's greatest hope for peace. I will take that as assent Danzo-sama, I will now take my leave. As soon as I finish my mission I will begin the next one. He had walked out, not wanting the man to see the tear slowly winding down his face. Flashback Kai. I know many will never forgive me, especially Sasuke and Naruto. I have a feeling that those two will surpass me one day. Maybe together they can bring peace to this world, as I seem cursed to bring only more death. Still this must be done, and it will be done tonight. With a dramatic and slightly femme flourish of escape, Itachi Uchiha disappeared from his clan complex, in preparation for what would be the last time. Temari had seen the sights, and was still rather bored by them. The Inizaka clan's compound had been rather interesting. It had also been really cute. There were puppies everywhere, and Temari wasn't a big fan of cute. She had been resolved for as long as she could remember to be a perfect kunoichi. She had vowed not to fall prey to the vices of fangirlishness and personal beauty over competence and shinobi skill. But it was really hard around her Naru-kun, because he was well, cute, but in such a way that Temari liked it. The only Inizakas she had seen were an annoying boy around her Naru-kun's age, and a threateningly beautiful girl in her later academy years. The boy had challenged her Naru-kun to a fight, and when Naruto beat him with a single non-chakra-infused punch the girl had fawned all over him like some fangirl sycophant. Temari got the feeling that this happened a lot. Fuming in anger, Temari had dragged him out of there rather quickly. Then the Nara compound had been excruciatingly boring. There were a couple of lazy men sitting around playing shogi and go while their wives yelled at them to pick their lazy asses up and go about being a shinobi. Even the kinda cute boy around their age barely managed to get off his ass and wave to Naruto. The Akimichi compound had been briefly scanned through, because both her and Naruto had felt that one could only receive so many bone-crushing hugs, before your bones got crushed. Temari had heard the word bug, and flat out refused to even enter the Aburame compound. Which Naruto was privately sure that the Aburames themselves were okay with. They were after all a very secretive clan. The Hyuga clan compound had fascinated the two. They were invited in because after all, they both were the children of members of the Five Shadows, the most influential group of shinobi in the elemental countries. They had traveled around and eventually ended up watching two young members of the clan spar. A young boy and girl, about their age, were fighting with what looked like killer intent to Temari's eyes. The girl and the boy had identical pale white eyes, and purple hair, and both were wearing baggy beige clothing. They were both equally skilled, and apparently this displeased the two identical men that watched over them. Neji, you must be quicker. You must strike harder and faster because she is much more flexible than you. Use your longer reach, hit home. Hinata, use your flexibility to your advantage, get around him. His arms are much longer than yours, so don't stand like a statue. Move girl, move. The fight ended quickly when the boy, Neji, overextended his reach and allowed the girl, Hinata, to finish with a two-fingered chakra strike beneath his shoulder, allowing her to demolish his defenses. See there, kid? That Juken is much like your Doku Kitsuken, but yours is much more deadly. Would be interesting to watch a fight between you and that girl. Not today, Gokutsu-sensei. Tama-chan is my priority today. Just then the Hyugas noticed their Hokage's son and his fiancée. Naruto-san, what brings you to the clan compound? I was showing Tama-chan here the abodes of our most famous and influential clans, so naturally it led us here to the Hyuga compound. Hisashi-sama, I trust you are enjoying your visit? Yes, Hisashi-san, the compound is fascinating as always, but with the match concluded, I fear we must take our leave. We still have the Uchiha compound to visit. I saved it until last because it is after all the largest. Indeed, it appears the Uchiha must make up for in quantity what they lack in quality, dryly said the diminutive heir to the clan, Hinata Hyuga. Ever since being kidnapped at a young age she had become known as the Hyuga's Little Ice Princess, and lived up to the name. Brutally skillful at the Juken, she was an icy prodigy child bent on her clan's superiority, and almost eaten up with hatred for Kumo, her childhood kidnappers. Now Hinata-sama, the Uchiha are valuable members of the village, They are the shinobi police after all. Countered her cousin Neji. Practically her polar opposite, he was carefree and easygoing. Bound by the seal on his forehead, he believed his fate was to serve the Hyuga clan in his village to the best of his prodigious ability, although he never let it get to him. He practically worshipped the Ondaime, because if it wasn't for him, Neji's father, Hisashi, would have been killed and sent to Kumo to take the place of Hiyashi, who had killed the kidnapper of Hinata. When Kumo's ambassador demanded the death and body of the murderer of their diplomat, Minato had laughed in his face and answered him with a Rasengan that tore off the ambassador's left arm. He then gave Kumo an ultimatum: give up in your inane quest for a bloodline, or suffer the wrath of Konohagakure and its allies. Needless to say, the ambassador got the message across to the Raikage. Yes, they are indeed an interesting group, the Uchiha. They have produced quite the amount of prodigies in recent years. It's almost enough to make you wonder what they feed their women. Complete and total silence. However, if one were to listen very, very, very closely, they would still hear absolutely nothing. Why? Because even the crickets that had been so abundant on such a great summer night were uncomfortable with just how not funny that joke actually was. Cough, cough. Well, as exceptionally non-humorous as that was, Naruto-san, do not feel you have overstayed your welcome. Although it is getting late, and you did say you have somewhere else to visit. Naruto's sweat dropped. Obviously Hiyashi was trying to get rid of them. Yes, of course Hiyashi-sama, but we should probably go, after all it is getting rather late. After Naruto and Temari had been shown the door, Hiyashi looked at his daughter Hinata. See Hinata, he is a charming young man. For once, the Ice Princess had no witty retort. She just stared at the backs of the two with something that may have been the shadow of a blush on her cheeks. And now the young couple found themselves in front of the gates of the Uchiha compound. They had stopped for ramen, and knowing of course, Naruto's prodigious appetite for said Japanese noodle dish, they showed up at around 10 o'clock at night. Temari wasn't worried, after all she was with the Hokage's son, and no one would be foolish enough to accost them for being here too late. Naruto's view was slightly more realistic. He knew there was animosity between his father and the Uchiha patriarch. Fugaku would probably throw them out just to show that the Hokage's power wasn't exactly absolute. But whatever, they're at the gates now, and they're starting to get impatient what with the fact that knocking wasn't doing a bit of good. Naruto's thoughts were, grrrrrrr, I'm tempted to unleash my Kitsunegan and beat some sense into them. Although I'm not sure I could beat Itachi-ni-san, even if I pulled out 2 whole tomo of the Kitsunegan, which is as much as I can. It's okay, he's such a cool guy, he'd probably help me kick their asses. Naruto-kun, I'm cold. Can we just go in? Temari pulled her best puppy dog eyes. And when I'm saying her best I mean she went all out. She pulled out the supremely pouty bottom lip, with the quiver and everything, and she got her eyes to go extremely wide and sparkle, with the faintest hint of tear showing through. She was so good that whenever she pulled out the face Naruto could swear that he heard the universe go ah. It unnerved him. The whole setup wasn't really necessary because Naruto probably would have fallen at just the lip quiver. Sigh. Yeah, Temari-chan, I'm sure they won't mind. But as soon as Naruto opened the gates a fraction, he saw something so disturbing it automatically activated his Kitsunegan. Bodies, everywhere. Naruto-kun? What's wrong? What is this? Temari had felt his chakra spike outrageously. It beat her down with the sheer pressure of it. But, luckily for her, she could not see the massacre that had taken place within the compound. Temari, get out of here. Something's wrong. I don't want you caught up in this. I need you to go get my dad. He turned around and she gasped at his eyes. The iris was deep purple. The pupil was a thin slit, like that of a canine or feline, and there were concentric rings that started from the outside of the iris and went to the edge of the eye. Inside the first ring on each eye were 2 toma that wriggled sinuously like snakes, or tails. The iris started out from the pupil as red and then deepened into purple at the edge. The rings alternated in color between red and purple. Naruto-kun, your eyes. What's wrong? Don't argue, I'll explain later. Just go get my dad. Something's terrible has happened here. As he spoke she felt the immense chakra pressure let up and sharpen until she could get up. And as soon as she could she got up and began running for the walls of the village. Leaving Naruto at the gates of the Uchiha compound, about to go in. Gokatsu-sensei, I don't know what to do. My brain tells me to go find this person and rip out their heart. But my heart wants to find them and ask them why. Well, both plans involve finding the culprit. So I think we shall do that first. Let us go, Naruto-kun. We must stop this person, and see if anyone survived. While we work, sensei, teach me how to activate the eyes while suppressing the massive chakra output. I want to be able to activate them and have others not know that they're active. Smart idea, kid. It's actually quite simple, you see. With a flash that would be worthy of his father, Naruto disappeared into the labyrinthine ways of the Uchiha compound, leaving the wind to swirl around the atrium, softly weeping over the bodies. Kasan? Tosan? Aniki? Hello? I'm so scared. Sasuke Uchiha was frantic as he searched out his family. He ran through the streets that he knew like the back of his hand. But suddenly, he was feeling that these streets were not the same as the ones he had grown up on. Because the streets he had grown up on could not possibly be the same ones that were now covered with the blood and bodies of anyone who contained even a speck of Uchiha blood. Sasuke ran faster. To the one place he thought he could be safe. His house. Itachi smiled sadly as he felt two chakra signatures approach. It would be those two, wouldn't it? Just as well, really. They can help heal each other after this. I think I can trap Sasuke with Tsukiyomi, but Naruto's strangely resistant to Genjutsu. I'll have to knock him out or something. I hope they grow stronger from this. They must grow stronger from this. Sasuke and Naruto arrived at Sasuke's house at roughly the same time. And by roughly the same time I mean Sasuke showed up at the door and then Naruto barreled into him. Naruto had by this time suppressed his chakra output. Naruto? What the hell are you doing here? Sasuke. Something's really wrong. Everybody is dead. Don't worry, Naruto, I'm sure my brother will take care of whoever did it. And I'm sure there's plenty of people around, they're probably just hiding. Well, come on then. We need to find Itachi-san. Right. With that they both rushed into the house, searching for the one they believed could help. The one they knew they could trust. Their older brother, whether by blood or disposition. Which only made what was to come next that much more heartbreaking. Itachi got up from his silent watch over his parents' corpses, and turned to face the door. Mangekyo Sharingan in place. The black pinwheel spinning slowly, softly, mournfully, feeling its master's sorrow at what was to come. For when they opened the doors to the dojo, Kosan exclamation mark ... Who would do this? I believe I can answer that, Sasuke. You see, it was me. Itachi? What are you talking about? You did this? How? Why? Simple, Sasuke. I wanted power. I needed to test my worth, to test my strength. How better to do that than on the strongest clan of Konoha? Boo, but their family. How could you do that to your own family? You monster. If Itachi had been a lesser man, he would have broke right then, at the disgust, hatred and fear in his beloved little brother's voice. He couldn't let them see how much he was wounded at that though. Let me educate you both. The life of a shinobi is a never-ending struggle for survival. Only the strongest ninja rise above the rest and thrive, the rest are mere tools. The shinobi code says that we are tools. That is only true for the cannon fodder, we elite, the strongest of the strong are the ones that use those other tools. The Uchiha were mere tools, stepping stones that I could use to test my weapons upon. As you two will be tools until you can surpass me. So grow, fight and kill. At this Itachi looked up, letting Sasuke see the dreaded Mangekyo spinning. Itachi whispered Tsukiyomi. And here is some advice from one who will test you in the future. Sasuke. Unleash your Sharingan, let it become Mangekyo, sacrifice the thing you love most in the world for power, because you won't even be noticeable until then. Until then I won't ever acknowledge you as an Uchiha, someone worthy to kill. Now, since this place is the creation of my eyes, I control the time. So you will, for 72 hours, relive this event. You will see every clan member cut down. Goodbye, Itoto. Itachi returned to his body in time to see Sasuke crumple. Sasuke, no. Itachi-san, why did you betray us? At the end of his little outburst Naruto let his chakra flare once more, lifting his eyes and letting Itachi catch a glimpse of his Kitsunegan, because. And with this he disappeared and reappeared behind Naruto. It was necessary. And with that he smacked Naruto on the back of the head, knocking the poor boy unconscious. Itachi took one last look at the two young people who were his legacy, willing or not. I am sorry, but for my dream of peace, things like emotion cannot stop me. I wish things could have been different, but this is what's best for the village. Truly you will both surpass me, and maybe your dreams, unlike mine, can have happy endings. And Itachi Uchiha disappeared from Konoha, not to be seen for many years. Just like the incident 3 years ago, the Anbu that arrived on the scene were more than a little surprised at what they saw. 2 7-year-old boys, and a bunch of bodies. To their credit though, they said nothing, just checked the boys' pulses, and then picked them up and disappeared. The wind whistled through the compound, alone.